Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. Today we're going to learn how to assemble an industrial sewing machine table. So our table of contents, we're going to go over the tools you're going to need and the hardware that's included in the kit. Otherwise, the rest of these items are just here for reference, and I will put timestamps in the description of the video. These are the tools that I use for this job. You can get away with just using hand tools, but having the impact driver is really nice. You're going to need metric wrenches, 14, 13, 12, two number 10s, and then I use the socket adapters for the impact driver to make it a lot faster. This is all of the hardware that is going to come in the motor box. This hardware should come in another Ziploc bag. And you should find all of this hardware in a third bag that's heat sealed, and it's going to be in with the legs in the brackets. So I like to start with the tabletop. I flip it upside down. I like to put it on something else that's about waist level so I'm not bending over the whole time. First thing I'm doing is I'm slipping the carriage bolts and installing the rubber isolators on the bottom side. So you can do that with all three of these guys. Next thing I'm going to do is grab the motor and put it on the isolators, the carriage bolts running through. I'm going to add a washer to each of the carriage bolts, followed by a lock washer. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to add a nut to complete that assembly. Now you can adjust the left to right position of the motor to make sure that the center of the pulley lines up with the center of the belt slot. Then I'm going to use one of these nice ratcheting wrenches to tighten all three of the nuts. So now that that's done, I'm going to use one of these hex heads to replace the pulley on the motor. As I take the pulley off, you can see that there's actually a sleeve between the pulley and the spindle arm on the motor, so that's got to come out of the old pulley and go into the new pulley. This one was a little bit of a pain. Then the new smaller pulley goes on and we tighten it back up. Smaller pulley on the motor makes the machine run slower. So sometimes the manufacturer will put these helicoils in the wrong spot. They can be installed for either K-legs or T-legs. Usually they're pretty good about it, but once in a while they'll go in the wrong spot. So just again using the impact driver to remove the helicoils from their inner position and then move them to their outer position so that they line up with the T-legs. It's really nice to have the impact driver for this. You could do it with a handheld Allen wrench hex key, but using power tools is nice. Okay, so here we're going to do the subassembly of the legs. You are going to use one of these long flat brackets and a total of 4 of the fastening bolts total per side. So I'm connecting from the outside to the inside 2 of those bolts that go through this bracket, and then I like to pull the two halves apart so that it's at its maximum height, and then fasten the spine bolts next. So those are these two guys. And now we're just going to do the same thing on the other set of legs. So here's another top-down view. You can see those helicoils in the far four corners. This is the hardware we're going to use to attach the legs to those, and you'll see why we had to relocate those now. So the top of the leg is pre-drilled to line up to those guys, so I use one of these bolts and a washer, and just go ahead and line that up. There is a little bit of wiggle room in the front to back position of the legs, and I will either slide them all the way towards the front of the table or all the way towards the back of the table on both the left and right side so that they sort of index and are nice and square. So we're going to do the same over on the other side, and we're going to use one of those long bolts and a washer to attach the leg to the tabletop. All right, now we're going to attach the back support bracket to join the two legs, and you're going to need 4 of the leg fastening bolts for this job. Now we're going to attach the foot pedal bracket to the legs. These are the spacers that hold the bracket in place. I like to get them as close as possible to the locking casters without bumping into the casters. And then you are going to use these long carriage bolts and a flat washer. Washer goes on the carriage bolt, you can see here, all the way down. And then that goes through the foot pedal bracket, through the spacer, and you're going to use one of these flat, square, rectangular nuts that actually goes into the channel on the bottom of the leg and then fastens that way. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. The washer goes onto the carriage bolt. The bolt goes through the foot pedal bracket and the spacer and goes through the flat metal nut. And then I tighten both sides down so they're good and firm with the impact driver. All right, now we're going to attach the pedal hinge. So this is going to be hardware that's found in the big package. We've got the hinge, a bolt goes through that, a washer, a lock nut, and then a nut. You may find that you need to do some adjustment left to right so that you can align the Pittman rod bracket on the pedal up with the lever on the motor. If you do the same spacing that I have here on your table, you'll probably be pretty happy with that. So again, the little hinge goes through the bracket, and then the hardware fastening goes through that. So one just quick note about this. I installed the little finger bracket on the wrong side of the pedal. So if you have your pedal in this orientation while you're installing it, the tab that can be seen in the top right in this video should actually be on the top left when you do the subassembly for your pedal. So this is the small set of nuts and washers and bolts that are going to be found in your hardware package. From outside to inside, I install the nut, washer, and then that goes through both of the stamped steel pieces with a bolt on the inside. And you're going to need 2 number 10 wrenches to tighten these guys. So now that we've got the subassembly done on the pedal, you can place that onto the hinges. I'm going to slide right in there. And you're going to have to use a combination of a 13 and a 14 millimeter socket and or wrench to tighten these. One side is bigger than the other. And that's that. Alright, this part's called the Pittman rod. This is what connects the foot pedal to the lever on the motor. And I took the 2 halves apart with a 12 millimeter wrench, and now I'm just threading that through the foot pedal and through the arm on the motor. The bolts on the small sides are number 10, so you're going to need the number 10 wrenches, both of them, to tighten these guys up. And it's a number 12 on the little connecting bit. I don't know what that's called. It's a bit. It's a connecting bit. So when I was filming this video, I forgot to film how I attached the drawer. In this orientation, it's going to go in the front right, and you can sort of see where it is in relation to the rest of the hardware. It's going to stick out about a centimeter past the cutout where you can go and grab the worm gear. You'll figure it out. But what I didn't forget to do was to film where I place and how I secure the on-off switch. You're going to use the 2 black screws that came in the motor mounting hardware. And just drill it on in. Drill, baby, drill. Next, you're going to want to secure the power cords, and so you're going to use the several hard plastic wire retaining clips that just have little finishing nails in them, and you just pound those right into the bottom of your brand new table. I think there's 3 or 4 of them, however many you need to feel good and secure. So yeah, that's pretty much how you put one of these suckers together. All that's left is the headrest pin and these little hinge hooks that go into the back of your machine. What else I got there? Oh yeah, the little rubber isolators. You're going to need to go to Home Depot and get some little finishing nails or something like that to keep those in place, because the table manufacturer doesn't send any. But otherwise, they're pretty good. Have fun!